So, let me tell you a tale. A tale about a man. Well, let's not give him a name. He's not that important after all. But this man works a simple job in a simple life. Well, technically it's not that simple at all. He lives a boring job, a boring life, with boring people. But thankfully, every now and then, he gets a break. And what's he do on this break? He goes on holiday. But on this holiday, he's going to learn to play by the rules in room 102. So the story starts with our ever so main character coming to his hotel. But sadly, when he gets there, he finds out his original room has been taken. What a shame. What a shame. So he just requests another room for free. Not a big problem, correct? Well, the receptionist looked very alarmed. Didn't want to seem to give him the room for some reason. But in the end, he got the room. He got a nice room with one window, one bed, one table. You know, the norm. He has a shower, and as soon as he sees it, he gets in it. And he just blasts the water loud. Nothing to hear except from the bliss of the water. But sadly, at the end of his little shower, you can just hear the banging on a door, ever so loud. Startled by this fact, the man goes outside and checks the door, but finds nobody outside. How ever strange. Hello? The man calls, but finds no answer. So, slightly afraid and panicked, he goes back into his room. I mean, wouldn't you? Only to find as he turns around, an old little cassette player, covered in an odd black hues. It looks wet, but it feels dry. He looks around, but doesn't find a tape. He looks inside, it's empty. Nothing of use, really. So as he goes to put it down, he hears a knock again. Except from exceptionally louder, and he sees a shadow from underneath the door. And instead of going to the door, the man just walks to his bed and ignores it, thinking it's the same thing again. He opens and nobody's there. I wouldn't want to do this either, if it annoyed me. But sadly for our, well, little protagonist right now, he had something else to do.
Hello, Pally Boy. I wouldn't sit down over there if I were you. Why don't you go answer the door and play by my rules?
Said a voice on the cassette player, which frightened the ever-living shit out of our main character now, considering there was no tape to play. Our main little character gets up, grabs the tape, and tries to jam the buttons backwards, only to find it doesn't work. And in a fit of panic, he says out loud, "Who are you? Where are you, and what are you doing?" Except from he doesn't think he's going to get an answer back. Unfortunately.
Well, pal, I think you don't want to know that answer right, yeah, do you? Now be a pal and open the...
Hearing the voice gets slightly demonic and demanding to do as he's told. He feels the need to do so. I mean, if something just screams at you ever so loudly, wouldn't you listen to it? It's your skin after all. So ever so slowly, he walks to the door. And when he gets to it, he sees the shadow under the door still there. And yet, he still opens the door. But when he opens it, wow! There's nobody there. The walls have changed too. From the simple hotel walls, came to an odd stone hallway. A couple doors, all iron, scratches in the walls. It's odd. So what's the most odd is how there's just one light at the end of the hallway, and that's it. But yet, everything else is bright. Just one light, one lone light against probably a 30 feet hallway, and it's keeping the whole thing lit. And then suddenly,
Why don't you be a pal and go down to the end of the corridor now?
Come on, play by the rules. We don't want to make you a little late for time, do we?
at first the man declines and just walks back in his room. Sadly, he should have not done such a thing. 'Cause now, our ever-loving idiotic character should have played by the rules. And this is what happens when you don't.
Well, Pally, you should have played by the rules.
How about we take a month away of your time? I'm sure nobody will mind.
And ever so slowly, but you could see the time fly on a clock. You could see night and day flip by outside the window. You could see the walls decay. You could see mold grow in the walls. You could see scratches appear from nowhere. You could see words written in blood on the walls. And then, out of nowhere, our main character's phone dings. Why does it ding? Well, it's simple. He's got a message. But other than who than himself? Why did he send himself a message? Well, that's simple. Who said he didn't live the month? Well, turns out you lost a month of your time, but you don't remember it. 'Cause we didn't let you. And we? Well, we will let you if you don't follow our rules. Said the voice on the little cassette player.
So now, why don't you check your phone for a few things?
And ever so slowly does our little insignificant character check his phone, only to find a month's worth of messages, videos of him screaming, yelling, writing on the walls with his own blood and finkel matter, screaming, do as it says, don't, it'll let us go. Do it what he, she, it says. You don't want to live this hell. Nobody does. But then something else happens. Instead of just feeding the rest, getting more messages from himself, he gets others from other people. Which is odd, considering he knows none of these people's in the videos. And yet they're all screaming, telling, yelling, quietly whispering the same thing as him. Now, the only thing that's going through this man's mind is utmost horror, fear, and a slight bit of adrenaline, but most importantly, obedience. He's got to listen now. He's got to play by the rules. Otherwise, he'll have to live through this. Except from he knows he won't forget next time.
Well, Pally, why don't you just play by our rules now? Come on. Just go to the end of the hallway.
So our ever-loving character, finally obedient, does as he's told. Step by step, funking through the halls. Goes to the end of the hallway to find an elevator. One lone elevator and one lone button. And what does he have to do? Then other than press it. I mean, there's nowhere else he could go. And the next thing we hear is the light flickering and the voice on the cassette yelling at our little significant pawn.
Why don't you run, Pally?
I think you best.
Do it for our sakes and yours.
And as that sentence finishes, the doors to the elevator swing open, and he's faced with something he just can't see, surrounded in shadows. Man doesn't get a second look. He doesn't want a second look. He just runs. Like the coward he is. I mean, what's the fun of playing with somebody who's going to try and fight your nightmares? Nah, it's better when you scream and run. Oh, this little man runs and runs and runs. And runs. Back to his room. And as soon as he opens that door, which is slightly heavier than before for some reason, he slams it right behind him to find out that his room is no longer his little hotel room. It's now replaced with a cell. His door is like the iron ones, the others in the hall. His bed is just a mattress on the floor, and a small broken wooden table, missing a few legs, and some ungodly things on the table, which could be described as food, and bars on the window. And suddenly, just ever so suddenly, bang, bang, bang on the door. The light begins to flicker. And the next thing we know...
Why don't you open the door, Pally?
Come on.
What you got to lose?
You're stuck in here otherwise.
And ever so slow. The man just does so. No reply, just does. Something so enjoyable. And when he opens that door, and when he gets his hand on the handle, the banging just gets louder and louder and louder. Bang, bang, bang. He doesn't want to do it. He just doesn't want to do it. Yet he does it anyway. Why? Well, what's he got to lose? And then he opens the door. He opens it so quickly with well, it could have just been blown right off his hinges. Only to find he's back in his old hotel hallway. His door sign says room 102. And the next thing we know, he checks his phone. The time's back how it used to be. And then we hear,
Well done, Telly.
You did good to play by our game.
But now we need you to do one more thing for us.
Don't worry.
You don't have to, but, well, do you really want to suffer the consequences?
for fear, the man says no. And the voice tells him 3 simple words. To another room. As the man looks, he sees room 101 and room 103. And he goes to enter room 101, only for the voice on the cassette to say,
Not
That room, pal.
we've been in that room before, and thanks to him.
You had to live the same thing he did.
And now you're gonna be doing it to room 103.
Oh, come on. It's not gonna be fun if you don't play by the rules.
The man realized. The man realized. This wasn't solely about him. It wasn't about him at all. He was just one of 102. Well, soon to be 103. As the man enters the room to find the door slightly ajar, he hears the shower on in the room. Oh, is it ever loud like his? And he walks up to the table, the same one that looked like his in his room, placed it down, walked away, shut the door and banged as loud as he could, and walked right in his room. But this isn't a story about our occupant of room 102. No. This is the story about room 103. And how room 103 must play by the rules. Because if they don't, well, they'll be stuck in time and in this loop, begging, screaming for mercy. And we can always find somebody else. I mean, it is a hotel after all. Somebody's bound to play by the rules.